Okay, good morning. My name is Crystal and I have tried to make this video several times over the past few months. Every time I think I'm ready to do it, something else happens and I don't do it. It's very early, iced coffee here, sitting by the garden, and I'm gonna talk about my grieving experience and gardening. That's what we're gonna talk about. If you are new here, again, my name is Crystal. Hi. I don't normally make videos exactly like this. We live in Connecticut and we have a very small little mini farm that we are building. We moved from our old house and bought this house in 2016, and it's got a few acres and it's surrounded by a very large nature preserve, which is beautiful, and we're just extremely grateful to be here. And in 2019 we decided to homeschool our kids, and then in 2020 we started to build a very tiny garden, which has turned into a very large garden and we feel like we expand on it every year, which I enjoy. But that led to chickens, and we also have goats, and we're planning on building a barn at some point. So lots of really awesome things that we're doing, and we truly are grateful to be here and really do enjoy our lives. And we love sharing the things that we learn and the experiences along the way. And we also really love hearing from the people that watch our videos, who leave comments and suggestions and helpful little tips. And we just love it so much, and we're just very grateful for you being here. And normally I film pretty much everything I do in the garden. When I work in the garden, I like to just show what I'm doing, and sometimes I do it as like a comprehensive video where I show start to finish of things, or I'll show how and when we're planting our garlic, when I'm fertilizing the garlic, when I'm harvesting the garlic, so that we can just kind of grow our gardens together and collect the eggs together and just do all these things together. With the garden, I have found it to be extremely rewarding experience. I've loved growing things in pots since we lived at our last house, and then when we bought this house, I have a distinct memory of buying seeds and trying to start them in containers outside, and then that didn't work, so I went to a local nursery and picked up bell peppers, and I was so excited to grow bell peppers in a container. This was all without using YouTube. I went and I just did these things on my own, and then 2020 happened, and you know, we're home a lot, everybody's home, and we're on YouTube and we're watching these amazing gardeners with the how-to garden and little tips and tricks and things that I didn't know about, and it just led to so much behind me. And from there, I learned that I have a deep love for being in the garden. I grew up being outside a lot. We were very fortunate to have horses, and I was able to travel with them, and I had a wonderful time with that, and I really enjoy animals and being outside. I never would have put together gardening in with that, but it is absolutely connected to where I find peace in my life. There's so many metaphors with the garden that I can associate with so many things going on in my life, and I won't get into those things, but just being in there has brought me a lot of comfort and peace, and just being outside and the beauty of growth. Like I said, we normally shoot a lot of videos in the garden, and this year I have had a very difficult time doing that because I have found comfort and therapy in the garden, and it's just kind of been a private thing for me where I'm out there sometimes talking to myself, and like not even realizing I'm talking to myself, but it's just the thoughts in my head just like come out of my mouth, and I know that sounds insane. And then I also usually have my music playing, and I'm just out there and I'm enjoying the garden, and the camera is not something that I'm thinking of doing. And by the time I'm done, I have done so much work, and like nothing was filmed. With that said, I'm gonna just kind of bluntly share what's been going on. It might come out like not as eloquent as I would hope or maybe feel internally, but that's mostly because I don't feel like crying anymore. I just kind of want to get it out there, okay? So my dad died in March, and then my grandmother died in April, and then my dog died a couple of days ago. I'm not gonna get into any of the details as to all the things surrounding it because there's so many details to every single one of those stories, and I'm just gonna kind of keep it simple. I might talk about my dog a little bit more as it is it's my dog, and he's my story to tell as far as my family and things like that. I'm just gonna kind of leave that off to the side. It's not that they're any more or less important to me. I'm just trying to keep personal things private. But yes, my dad passed away in March, and then my grandmother passed away in April. Two different sides of the family, and it was a lot, and it's been a lot for us to deal with. Losing my dog was not on my bingo card. After that, I figured we were done. He held on through those times, and I'm grateful for that. My dad's memorial service was this past weekend. My dog Rocky, he just turned 11 on May 13th, and we were so excited, and he was so excited, and he's just such a good little boy. But he started to show signs that he was not doing well and that he was very sick. We did all the things that we were supposed to do. We tried to make him better. I did a bunch of testing last week. Little bit of a backstory. I did have these things tested back in January when I started to notice he was just a little bit off. Actually, it's going back to December. We had equated it to my husband. We found out has a heart condition. We thought that maybe Rocky was just reacting to Steve not being well. And I realized that maybe there was something more underlying. And so we've been, dealing with Rocky. He's had an eye thing at one point that lasted a few months, and it's just been one thing after another. And I think while I'll never understand it, it was just his time to go. I miss him very, very much. And it's still new, and I'm still trying to process it. I feel him here with me. Every time I opened that front door and came out here, he came with me. Everything I did around here reminds me of him, and that includes being in the garden. I'm gonna clean myself up and then come back and tell the story. Okay, I just went over and opened the greenhouse and let some of the cool air. It's so cold today. It's in like the 50s and it's rainy and cloudy. Anyway, while Rocky was in the hospital on Monday, it was going to be several hours, and I ended up coming home just to do something rather than stewing in my own anxiety. I came home, I immediately went out to the garden, and I transplanted 5 Amish paste tomato plants, like 6 Comstock sauce and slicing tomatoes, which I'm excited to grow this year. A couple other tomatoes, and all of the hot peppers went into the garden, and a couple of the sweet peppers. I've had a hard time growing those this year. In doing that, I found that something that brings me joy was actually bringing me dread. Rocky wasn't there, and it was very difficult for me to do those things, and so the joy was kind of taken out of the garden on this week. I don't even really want to be out there. I know it will get better, and I know that I'm obviously in some sort of stage of grief and shock still with this whole thing that, I don't know, I'm not wrapping my head around it, and I'm having a hard time like moving forward. He wasn't my first dog. I've had many beloved pets in my life. But Rocky, he was, like Steve says, everything that you would hope for in a dog. Was sweet with the kids. He followed me everywhere. He was sassy at certain points. He just had like all the personality typical of a Pembroke Corgi. He wasn't my first. My first one lived to be 15, and I had her from childhood into adulthood, and losing her was very difficult. Rocky was just, he was my boy. He went with me everywhere. Never a leash unless we were in public or going camping, and it's a transition, and it's hard for Steve and I right now. If you've lost an animal, then you understand. I have read that it is harder to lose your beloved pet sometimes than it is a family member, and I don't think it's harder. I think it's different. I think relationships are different. Relationships with humans are very complicated, and relationships with pets are very simple, and it's all love all around it. We all grieve differently, and I actually prefer to grieve by myself, like in silence with Steve, because he is quite literally my other half. So we grieve together, and I find comfort with venting to him and he vents to me, and we have that connection. And of course with my children, we let them, you know, grieve how they're gonna grieve, and we support them, and we're there for them. No matter how close we are to certain people, sometimes it just feels like, you know, we can't be our authentic selves in grief with other people around us, because everybody wants to give advice to make you feel better, but it doesn't actually make you feel better. So, you know, grief is love that you can't express to that person or being. And I absolutely believe that the grief never leaves. It just, through acceptance, it mellows out a little bit. That's kind of what's been going on. I don't want to make a very long video giving all kinds of gory details, so to speak, about what is going on. I just hope that everybody finds whatever peace it is in life and is able to enjoy that. The garden has done that for me. There's always something to do in the garden. And there's weeding, there's planting, there's fertilizing, there's, you know, maybe going out and buying a new planter and filling it with dirt. There's something so satisfying. And all of those things, they help me work through it, because I am able to do those things and work through the mental process of and emotions of dealing with the grief and the loss of loved ones. I think that's really all I wanted to say at this point. I didn't want to do this, but I'm going to do it because I think I would regret it. I wrote a poem for Rocky the morning after he passed away, because I don't know. I haven't written a poem since 3rd grade, but I just kind of wanted to get all of whatever was up here out. So I'm just gonna read it really quick and maybe show some pictures of my sweet pup. You don't have to watch if you don't want to. This is kind of just for me and my family. Rest in peace, my sweet pup. Since the day we picked you up, we've been together every day, but 11 years is not enough. I'll never understand why you had to go away, but know that I will think of you every single day. You were our home and we were yours, the goodest boy who deserved the best. You're my Rocky man, my co-pilot, my bestest friend. Every time I open the front door, we enter our small world together. You're my garden buddy, farmhand, and squirrel chaser. You're collecting eggs, going to get the mail, or go look at the fruit trees with me. You're there with the kids, inside, outside, under the table, or high chair. You're in the kitchen, pepperoni or yolk tax must be paid in full. You're going for car rides and camping. You're joyfully running to me from across the yard. You're laying in the grass, enjoying all of the moments. Your place at the end of the bed. Your excitement when I put socks on. Your feet walking in the hall. Your grunts when I snuggle you. Your ears in the window as you wait. Your spot at the top of the stairs to greet face to face. We both looked forward to snuggles, love, joy, and fighter until the end. You no longer quietly struggle. You're loved, you're missed beyond what words can express, a friendship that will never die, always at my feet, forever printed on my heart, my sweet Rocky, fly high. Hi, Rocky. What do you think, Rocky? You the foreman here? You're such a good boy, my Rocky. I love you so much. Hi, Rocky. He's a very good boy. Oh, he's such a good boy. Oh, I love Rocky. Good boy.